My name is Tyson Hatting, and I'm 16 years old. I am in 10th grade, and I have dyslexia, and I also have ADHD.
What has been your experience with dyslexia?
My experience with dyslexia is just struggling with reading, memorization, speech, and just also learning in general.
How has dyslexia affected your education?
So it's affected my education as far as reading and like math and language arts and stuff like that. So with reading, I would say like understanding words. So like when you read over a word, you may not quite understand it. So you could you might read over a word and then you're just like you don't understand it, and then you're just like whatever, I'll move on. I don't really want to try and understand it. And so that's one thing I do a lot where I'm like I don't want to try and understand it because it's just too hard. And so that's one thing with reading is just understanding a word is just difficult. And then in like math, word problems, it would be, like I got to read over a word problem like 4 times before, I fully understand it. If not, I won't even fully understand it by then. And so like a lot of times, I got to read like the first sentence, and I got to write out the first part of the problem, and then I read the second sentence, write out the second part of the problem, and then read the third part, and then write that out, and then solve it. And so, yeah, that's one thing with math. And then, yeah, like with language arts and stuff like that, it's just learning the definitions of words. That is difficult. So,
What strategies have you found to help with your reading, and do you still use any of those strategies?
yes. So, got two strategies. First one would be make sure you blink after every other period, if not every period. And so it just really helps making sure you blink at every period, because if you don't blink when you're reading, your eyes get really tired, and a lot of dyslexia people don't blink when they're reading, and then your eyes will get super tired. It makes it 4 times harder to read, and it's just not even good for you either. And so yeah, I still do that sometimes. Just sometimes I'll forget to blink, but now it's pretty much become pretty natural. I'll blink when I'm reading now, but it takes a lot of couple years of remembering to do that. And so then the second strategy would be, you probably know those little bookmarks with the yellow line, see-through line in it right down the middle that helps you keep track of which line you're reading. And so then when you finish the line, you move it down one more line. And so those are meant to just train your eyes to only move down one line instead of moving down 2 lines or reading the same line again. And so it may look super stupid, using it, but it's totally worth it in the long run. So yeah, I used to think I looked so dumb when I was using that all the time, and no, it's totally worth it.
Do you have any strengths that those without dyslexia might not have?
Yes, so one thing I've noticed would be like I can visualize something in my head, and I could create it out of just random things in my house, or go to the store and buy some stuff, and I can just create it like without an instruction booklet. I just basically form that instruction booklet in my head, and I can just create it, and it doesn't take that long to just build it. Um, and so like yeah, talking to my friends or family or just other random people, just asking them questions like, "Are you able to do that? Are you able to think of something in your head and then just create it?" And most times the answer is no. So that's one thing I've noticed. And like talking with other people who have dyslexia, they're like, "Oh yeah, I can do that. It's not that hard." And so yeah, that's one thing. And then another thing would be like puzzles. I'm really good at creating puzzles, and a lot of other dyslexia friends of mine are also, solving puzzles, at least for me, is really not that hard. So yeah, that's another thing. And so like, just like, I have one friend where I would make her like a maze book, and I'd give it to her, and she would always be like, "These are so hard. These are so hard. How do you do them so fast? I'd never be able to do that." So yeah, that's one thing. And then the another thing would be like, lately I've been noticing like songwriting isn't that difficult. Like, when I used to think it was impossible, like I would never be able to write a song. But then when I actually understood what notes were and how they work and how they blend together, it's not that hard to just kind of maybe create a tune in my head or even just write out an actual song. So that
Has homeschooling or public schooling helped you more with working through dyslexia?
I would say homeschooling has helped me a lot more than going to public school. So I actually went to public school for 2 years in my life at one point, and that was just super hard because you get like 20 minutes of the teacher teaching you something, and then you get 15 minutes to actually work out the problems, and that is just not enough time for me to actually fully learn something. And yeah, even just with the reading skills that aren't super good, it's just 2 times harder. And so I would say homeschooling is just it's a lot more fun as well, because you can go at your own pace, and it's just like, 30-minute videos that you can watch as many times as you want. Then you get some questions that you can go through at your own pace. It doesn't matter how long you take. And so yeah, I just think it's a lot better.
What advice would you give to someone with dyslexia who is discouraged in their reading and in their education?
So one thing that we actually found was something called Open Dyslexic, and so you can actually download. It's a font that that you can download, and it makes it a lot easier for dyslexic people to read and understand what they're reading. And so you can download it online. It's called Open Dyslexic.